Big thank you to Dia. We are in picks and bans, and RMC. I appreciate so much your research and your fun facts you put in our prep document because Pantheon is now 11 for 11 on bans.
Yep, completely unplayable at all. And guess who else is joining Pantheon up there? Unsurprisingly, Akali previously banned 9 out of 10 games and was picked the one time it wasn't banned. So Flamengo not having any of it. Akali going to remain on that bench as well.
Yep, and taken away the Irelia mid, which hasn't really shown itself in other regions, but Nosferus on the Irelia mid, as well as, and that one was a bit of a rope-a-dope for Cruzeiro in the draft. And it was played one more time, and I can't find it. It was Avenger. No, Avenger, that's what I was thinking of.
Avenger.
And then we go flex that last pick Urgot, and then just absolutely donkeyed Bankai. But that is neither here nor there. Like I said, we got to leave that in the past. But Samira, first picked here, the 80 carries, really high priority. And we'll see how INTZ draft. You got me saying it, man. Gosh, I don't say Zed. How INTZ draft around it, because we saw, if we think back to the first game of the split, BRTT played Samira into a comp that was just point and click CC. It's not like you can't play around this champ. For everything that's said about her, if you draft into it intelligently with CC, you can deal with her.
Definitely, and I actually find this really interesting so far. Hello, Kassadin insta locked here. That was not going to be my next point, but it has to be now because I mean, Kassadin. We're in the new patch here, and there were two champions that got absolutely gutted when preseason hit: Anivia and Kassadin. Anivia kind of got reworked a little bit, not quite as mana hungry, more upfront burst. Kassadin, however, was untouched, and Kassadin has kind of found his little niche here. Instead of being that sort of safe in and out style champion, he's just a straight nuclear bomb now. He's got a ton of damage, a ton of burst, but he goes off, and if he goes off at the wrong time, he's not coming back out. He just goes in, and he has to kill someone or else he's useless. So really ballsy pickup by Tuts here.
I was going to say, I mean, it's not like he's played for individual stats, but this pick alone might be why Tuts ruins his deathless streak. Just if he goes deathless on this Kassadin, I mean, unless INTZ just Giga Throw, I mean, that would mean that Tuts is the best mid laner in this league, because I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that they've got a good, maybe potentially a good bridge here with Ranger, who's been playing very, very well. Flamengo look like the most complete team in the league for me. And they're taking, and they're going to have a good bridge here in the early game. This team is all about, and the meta in general, but Flamengo, I think part of the reason why they've looked like the most complete team is they've capitalized on a meta that is all about like just skirmishes, your jungler, enabling your laners, and then your laners going around and just wreaking havoc all over the map.
For sure. They've just looked more coordinated as a team, I feel like, than any other team right now. What is interesting to me, though, is the fact that we saw the Olaf ban, the Graves ban, and up to this point, what we've been seeing is either Talia, Olaf, or Graves. Almost 100% of the games, it'd be one of those three. Usually 2 out of those 3. And this time, we're seeing, I think for the first time, I feel like, all 3 not picked here for these teams. So interesting choice here, Kindred versus Lilia. And for Flamengo, they also have drafted themselves a super squishy composition right now. They don't have any tank whatsoever yet. Usually we do see Redbird, on something tanky. Leona is still on the table, Alistar as well, Nautilus, a lot of the engaged tanks that Redbird excels at, still available, still present, and I'm expecting to see them pick up. My question is, what is Parang gonna go here?
Yeah, I mean, Parang can ruin your day on a number of picks, so I'm not too worried about his pool. That being said, you would like a little bit of a go button, like you kind of alluding to for Flamengo, and having the Gnar taken away is going to hurt a little bit, but I'm glad that the Leona was picked up here. Leona, I mean, she's so strong as is, but pairing her in lane with Samira, I think is not quite a no-brainer, but like a half-brainer. She's so strong. Parang is going to be on the Gragas top, though, it looks like, and that excites me because that's a champ that you really can carry on. He's really, really good right now. And you have kind of this secondary, you have like a primary and secondary engage that Flamengo have drafted themselves.
Yeah, and Gragas does pretty decently into the likes of a Renekton as well here. Has good sustain, has the ability to engage and disengage, as you mentioned. And more importantly to me is that it does great into the likes of a Misfortune as well. You need to interrupt that ult as quick as you can, as quick as you please. And Exploding Cask is definitely one way to do it there. Split up the team, force the Lilia, force the Renekton into your team while keeping the rest of the damage away so that you can deal with the threats piecemeal. So I like the composition from Flamengo. Again, very high threshold to execution in a way because they are kind of squishy. Eyes for me are going to be on Ranger and his Lamb's Respite because I feel like if Tuts wants to remain deathless here, a lot of it might have to come off the back of Ranger getting in there, getting the Lamb's Respite off to make sure that Tuts can get in and back out.
I think that's very well said, and I do think that the onus is going to be on, like you said, Flamengo have to be aggressors here. They've got to be the ones making plays because this is a comp that is a little squishier, right? I mean, you could just Flamengo could put Parang on full tank Gragas duty. Like it is pretty gross, but I think with a guy like Parang, I'd want to see him in more of a hard carry role, but you don't have to really go that one way or the other because you've got good carry options. Otherwise, Samira can absolutely take over a game. But I think, to your point, this feels like you talked about Flamengo's cohesion and how good they've looked. That is what's going to be required to pull off this comp, as you were kind of alluding to.
And for INTZ, I feel like we need to look at their composition a little bit here as well, because they've drafted themselves a very clear team fighting composition here. You know, they've got the Renekton or the Alistair as the ball delivery system, the Oriana with the Misfortune as well. And Lilia can do a lot in a team fight if left alone and sort of not focused down early. So a lot of strong team fighting from them, but from what we've seen so far, they tend to fall apart in lane. And the only person for INTZ who I feel like in week one really lived up to expectation was Revolta. Now on this Lilia, who often needs a bit of backup in the early game, INTZ's lanes need to step up. And I'm eyeing especially Bull in that top lane against Parang, as well as Envy on this Oriana against that Kassadin.
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate that Toots is taking a Doran's shield for himself. I do think that, like you said, Revolta has been the one spot of consistency for INTZ. And look, they've got to find a way to keep themselves safe here in the early game, like you said, because Revolta is not going to be out there just making plays left and right. Immediately landing here onto Ball. This is not how you wanted to start off the game. The Ignite goes down, so they do get a summoner out of it. And Bull, this is why you don't put points into your spells immediately, kids, because he waited and he put a point into his E after he knew that he was caught out. He didn't have to burn that flash.
And that's actually massive for INTZ to not lose anything whatsoever and actually bait out the Ignite from Redbird as well, because Bo is going to be able to get back to lane perfectly fine. Didn't lose a thing. Will be there in time for minion spawn. So they don't. It's a great start actually for INTZ, despite the proactivity from Flamengo, despite the semi-successful invade. They don't lose anything, and they're looking to potentially counter invade onto the bot side here of Flamengo.
Yeah, and we know that Lilia loves to do that level 1 Raptor shenanigans, so that's what they're trying to start up here. But Ranger will just take his own blue. They did get a ward up there, kind of like you were alluding to here, so it's not like INTZ are coming away empty-handed at all. Revolta's going to get on the enemy Raptors. That is Lilia 101 right there, and they didn't put themselves in poor position, Flamengo, to get caught out here. Revolta's going to prance right through the lane here and might actually run into Ranger.
Oh no!
Who's got the mark on Revolta. Wolf gonna take a bite out of Crime. Not quite yet. There's the tumble over and one more auto. And already between these two junglers, you knew these are two junglers that kind of operate the same way here. I didn't expect them to run into each other quite as often.
Yeah, and we already said Revolta, you know, that bright shining spot for INTZ. This early gameplay from Revolta, very, very heads up, takes the Raptors. And notice that Revolta didn't stick around to try and steal the red buff as well. We saw the missing pings come down. I'm pretty sure Flamengo knew something was up when Mikao and Kabu just never showed up as well. So heads up play, trying to just efficiently gank mid while you're transitioning as well. It doesn't look like a lot, but every little bit helps, especially in the jungle when you can fall behind. And so far, INTZ's I feel like they're up in momentum, even if they're not up in gold right now in the early game.
I'm glad that I was the only one that felt that way because I think, like you said, it's a very, very small amount of momentum. It feels weird even be talking about momentum this early in the game when there are no kills, no towers, the gold differences in the triple digits, if that. But that is what it feels like to me, as well as the fans throwing their weight probably intelligently here behind Flamengo. Even though INTZ, one of the most established and well-supported squads in CBLOL, I mean, these squads have looked night and day through the first 2 days.
And I think that 20% there is already being quite generous if we're only looking at numbers here. And again, speaks to that legacy you're talking about, the El Clasico here between Flamengo and INTZ. The fans are going to support their team, even if their team's looking bad. And that's what it means to be a true fan. So I love to see it. And again, that was one of the things we're talking about. INTZ, we want to see them come back because we know what they're potentially capable of. This is not a roster with a whole bunch of unknown names. These are players who, while they might not have been on INTZ back in 2020, are established players.
Trading here in the mid lane. I'm interested to see how this matchup goes. I mean, I think Envy taking the phase rush as opposed to the electrocute here, and Toots actually taking fleet footwork, which I don't think I've ever seen on a Kassadin. But to be fair, it's been a minute since I've casted Kassadin, and certainly not in season 11. Not that the runes really got touched up all that much, but looking kind of over at jungle control here. We like to talk about vision, especially on these first couple objectives. Going to be really, really important for both of these sides, as Ranger thought he might have been able to get a little bit of a jump on the bot lane of Macau and Kabu, but instead we'll just take his recall, and Revolta will do a little bit of counter jungling in response here.
Yeah, Revolta is basically effectively living in Ranger's jungle right now. He's constantly there, getting a bit of a CS lead as well. And that will start to matter if this continues to snowball and if Ranger still can't continue to find an effective place to look for a gank here. A good ward to protect Parang. And I want to go back to the fleet footwork for Toots here because that's actually pretty standard for Kassadins, especially if they feel like they might get wrecked in lane. They take the fleet footwork.
They heard you.
Yeah, they wanted to show us that. And that, the tenacity rune is pretty common as well here. You kind of go a little bit tankier and defensive just to show up your weaknesses because you're strong enough. You don't need more damage here. What you need to do is survive lane, and hence the Duran shield, hence the fleet footwork, and now Ranger Parang.
Well, there goes Bull's flash, but he's going to take a swipe at Ranger, 3 swipes to be exact, and stun him up. Leave Parang with a little more wiggle room here. He's going to take that recall, and he's got that TP again with the value of having both of those summoners up despite those early shenanigans. Really seem to be paying dividends here, in theory at least for Bo, but Parang able to shove the wave and keep him locked under tower at least a little while longer.
Oh, Redbird with the early roam. This is something I've noticed in CBLOL a lot is how aggressively the supports like to roam. And I love it. Kabu's instantly there to back him up as well. You can tell as soon as they back, it's not a question of, oh, the bot lane supports roaming. It was more like, okay, they left lane. Let's match our back timings and then run right back, assuming that the supports are going to roam. Our ADCs will be fine for a little bit.
Yeah, no, and that's a mistake that took me a little too long, honestly, until I started playing Bard as a support player, because Bard is such a roam enabler with his chimes all over the place. I just, it's my ADHD. I'm just like, woo, chimes. Like my ADC's gone. I don't know what to do with myself. I guess I'm just going to go collect chimes. But that is how you play the game right now. And I think, in CBLOL, yes, guys like Redbird are kind of famous for that, especially. So I do think it is more so in this region. You see it, it's almost automatic. It's not an if, it's a when. But no, I do think that, especially into this mid lane, Toots is playing it defensively, like you said. He seems to be very self-aware about the limits of his champion, going double MR in his runes, already getting himself a null magic mantle. Might see a little bit of action here. That mark for Rangers still on Revolta, going in with the Zenith Blade. Gonna get back there, pop the W, make it rain. Not gonna find too many. Actually, Ranger and Absolute are gonna walk right into it. Redbird had to flash away. He took a face full of ignite damage. INTZ, they got out on the front foot in their last game against Pain, or not Pain, excuse me, against, oh gosh, Red Canids, but weren't able to do anything with it. And I thought maybe that might have been where First Blood was going to come from, but they will get First Dragon, if nothing else, it looks like.
Really solid rotations. I like the way Revolta just flashed right into there. No fear whatsoever. Normally, Lilia at the stage of the game, kind of squishy. You might want to play a bit more passively and come in after the fight's engaged. Revolta didn't mind just running hit in there because there was enough damage, and they win this. And that's even without the mid laners chiming in, because Envy is actually about half a level up from Toots. If they had roamed down as well, at that point, Envy level 7, Toots only level 6. So INTZ really making the most of this early game advantage they have, and they have to, because you're up against a Kindred, you're up against a Kassadin. Both of those scale hard.
Yeah, and Kindred in a little more kind of boomer bust way, but yeah, I mean, like between Kassadin and if you can't deal with Samira, right? I mean, and maybe this isn't the right way to look at it, but this is the way my brain is kind of rationalizing these comps. I love, again, the Samira Leona. It's deadly in lane, and I think it's a bit of a shame that we haven't seen any 2v2 spice, but you got to give some credit here to Kaboo, right?
Hmm.
I mean, we haven't seen a ton of the camera pan down to the bot lane. We haven't seen how many times he's headbutted Redbird away potentially. But even on that fight where both Ranger and Revolta were there, I think Kaboo played that pretty well, and he got Redbird the heck out of dodge because Redbird, again, with one, he's just very good at League of Legends. Two, on this Leona, it's just point and click for him as Parang going to make his way down to the bot lane and get Absolute and Redbird up there. We talked about these early control of neutral objectives. They say, all right, Revolta, you can have that first Drake. We're going to try to get something going here with the Herald.
And this is what I love about Flamengo. We talked about their coordination, but their decisiveness too has been just on massive display here in 2021. Immediately, as soon as that bot lane dragon, as soon as they kind of lost it, Absolute Redbirds, they didn't stick around. They based and they instantly rotate top. So you can see that right here. INTZ, sure, you might have the stronger mid lane. Sure, you might have a level advantage in the jungle as well, but there's just no opportunity for them to leverage it. The people who are strong simply are not at the right area here. And now INTZ has to respond, but they end up losing the tempo here in this game.
And still up, not still up about 20 CS is Revolta, and it's going to be a little more important for him. He's got his now. You see the actually, I'm going to pick one thing to talk about here, I promise. But Parang picking up the Bomby Cinder here. Bull able to get the Conqueror off. Parang going to take a swig from the jug there. This is, I mean, this feels like a couple of teams playing to their win conditions, especially in lane. I mean, this is very objective, or in lane, in matchup, like individually, I guess is what I meant to say, right? Both the junglers
Mhm.
are farming. They're focused on objective control. Again, the one lane I would love to see a little more spice in was the bot lane, but every other lane, you kind of knew what was going to happen. Even though Bull on this Renekton is so strong early game, Parang with just being Parang, not even Gragas, being Parang, knows how to deal with that and how to effectively neutralize Bull and his Renekton.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing that happen in pretty much all the lanes a little bit here. Because in the top side, it is, or bot side, I guess, now that the flip sides, Parang is neutralizing Bolt. But in the top side, like you said, Kabu with this Ouster here, that is sort of the natural counter to Leona. They've held down the Samira, which is massive because we know what Samiras can do once they start popping off in mid lane as well. Toots has done an amazing job with his CS there. He is behind, but if you've never played this matchup, usually Cassidy gets abused pre-6 by Orianna because of the range advantage. Orianna actually does an amazing amount of damage with auto attacks due to her clockwork passive there. So
Yeah.
the fact that Toots is dead even, did not have to burn teleport to get back into lane just to survive, that's that's basically a win for Flamengo right now, and they're just waiting to let him hit that power spike, get ready for those later game team spikes. And if they just drag this on, the more they delay Dragon, if they make sure INTZ doesn't blitz a soul, they'll be in a very, very comfortable position come the later game.
We're going for maybe the all-in here, if nothing else, just a very dissuasive shockwave and extra damage there from Envy. I'm glad you brought up the clockwork passive because it allows you to take things like phase rush. You don't have to take like a mini electrocute almost. If you're playing Orianna, Toots a little bit low here. As we see Vision being cleared out, Redbird kind of waiting in the wings with Ranger, but they say, you know what, Toots can take care of himself. He's got that Rift Walk up kind of on cooldown here. But I want to kind of bring it back to something you said a little bit earlier. The longer this game does drag on, the more it's going to favor Flamengo. Just because of the champions, because of the numbers, math is going to win out for Flamengo, and so you'd like to see INTZ. The objective control has been okay, but that only gets you so far because objective control will start to swing in Flamengo's favor because of the way their champs are going to just explode.
20 seconds to Dragon right now. For INTZ to pick up the pace, for them to avoid said situation, that's where they need to be paying attention to because the soul is going to be either Inferno or Ocean. And that's massive here. I don't care how much a team scales. If you run up against a team with Ocean Soul, all the skill in the world isn't going to necessarily guarantee you the win anymore because Ocean Soul alone is worth so much. And you can see INTZ correctly identified that they're right on time here. Having the clockwork lady isn't the only thing they're having on clockwork because their dragon rotations are on point as well.
Well said. We love an extended metaphor. I really like that. The item spikes are also seem to be right around kind of the same time. This game is just dead even. And now here is where we might see some sort of lead be taken. You and I did a practice cast last night, and this feels like a little bit of a mirror of that. They're able to get a couple of plates here. Not a perfectly optimized Herald or any of that, but again, it does speak to the decisiveness and responsiveness of Flamengo.
Yeah, just trying to get some plates there, give Tuts a bit of alone time. And what I like too is the way they tried to set up that ambush there. You send the Cassidon to a side lane, and even past level 6,
Mm.
Cassidon is safer, but he's still killable. He's not super tanky with the way items currently work. He doesn't usually get a ton of health, and there is a limit on how much mana and how many rift walks he can squeeze in there as well. So by putting Tuts up there, they kind of bait it. And Mikau and Kabu, that was a blind make it rain. They just kind of did it to, check what was in there. And it ended up saving them, because if not, that could have been a really good 3-man collapse.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, I mean that's what Toots is going to start to have to do here. He's going to need to, what am I trying to say here? He's about to hit level 11. He's going to have that rank 2 ultimate, but even after 6, like you said, it's that he's not as
Oh,
abusable anymore. Redbird and Absolute trying to start the 2-man death squad,
there we
going in with the
go.
Zenith. Very good CC layering the wind wall. Not going to save Absolute. In fact, it's going to buy Envy a little bit of time here to get away. The TP comes down. 5 men in the mid lane and 0 kills. Still almost at the 15-minute mark. Oh, that might change here. Parang with a very gutsy body slam, but he will not get punished for it.
And that was 2 teleports, a heal, and ignite committed there. And all it took to stop that was 1 angry cow. Caboose Alistair is massive there. He didn't even have to use Unbreakable. He literally just walked in, pulverized, hit butt. Okay, Envy, we're out. We're safe. And that saved what could have otherwise been a horrific situation. If they got that kill, I have no doubt they'd continue to push in there, maybe just rotate straight for Herald as well. But with that, they're forced to reset, and INTZ now are in time to actually try and set up for this Herald, maybe flat out take it, or at least contest for it here.
And just this shows you how even this game is. That gold total that was that was put up there again. This is in order. This is not by position, but it ended up being coincidentally by position. It was the 2 mid laners, the 2 AD carries, the 2 top laners, the 2 junglers, the 2 supports, in that order. This game is dead even in gold right now. Looking at the items, the spikes have all been hit pretty much. I mean, the only difference kind of in items across partners is, does someone have tier 1 or tier 2 boots right now? That's it.
I mean, boots kind of matter in that if you're a little slow, you might get caught. But yeah, in terms of gold, it's negligible almost, the amount of gold that really costs. And what surprises me even more than just how even these teams are right now is the fact that we have 0 kills at 16 minutes here. That is not normal in most major regions, and definitely not in CBLOL, where we normally see them play sort of fast and loose here, really aggressively. So I feel like it's how much respect that Flamengo are coming into this game with, for this El Clasico, that they're not taking risks, right? When they commit for a play, they're throwing a lot of resources. If they're not confident, they immediately back off, and it feels like this is really playing towards INTZ's favor so far. They're not suffering too much in laning phase. They don't look disjointed, and now they're picking themselves up a Herald as well. So 3 out of 4 of the major objectives on the map picked up by Revolta.
And the sky is still blue. The sun did come up today, and Flamengo did respond to an objective. Are we even
Oh,
going to kill Parang, the Lamb's Respite? You weren't kidding, random minion caster. It wasn't Toots, but it was Parang. The Lamb's Respite denies us yet another kill. I thought I was watching CBLOL, not the LCK. When are we going to see some blood?
oh man, it's beautiful watching this, because sure, it sucks that there's no blood, but at the same time, the skill there as well from Bowl to recognize that he could turn that. The 1v2 Gore Drinker is just broken, man. Changed my mind.
Dude, I don't know if I should call you dude here on a broadcast, but that is so emphatically I feel. I mean, that's what makes Renekton. I mean, in picks like Renekton and Olaf, usually you could count on them falling off a cliff at about the level like 13-ish mark. But because of Gore Drinker, they can just get so much sustain. It's an extra life. It's like half a Guardian Angel if you use it correctly. No, it's really, really strong. That and Gale Force. I know Gale Force is getting touched next patch. This is still on 11.1. But I don't know if Gore Drinker is getting touched. If it's not getting touched on 11.2, it's getting touched on 11.3 for sure. Second Herald dropped into the mid lane, and finally INTZ able to break the map open a bit, and they're going to move it over to this Drake. This is not an absolute must contest, but a pretty close to a must contest. No pun intended for the Flamengo AD carry, by the way.
Yeah, they don't want to give this up also because it's Inferno Drake, and I feel like they've kind of roughly hit the points they're comfortable with. The Kraken Slayer for Rangers here, the Leandry's Torment as well, and here we go.
A flash and the cast Toots into the back line and wants to get a hit onto Bull, but the bullet time's going to come out and force him right out of that fight. Has to rift walk out.
Envy?
Shockwave was already blown, and the first blood goes to the support of all people between two historic orgs. It's one of the most wise and veteran players in the league that's going to pick up first blood, and his AD carry will get one too. Redbird, Absolute, and Toots all getting in on the action here. Mikau's going to pick one up. Bull picked one up a little bit earlier and still alive here. Parang looking to get in on the action. He's got himself 2 assists in with the headbutt, but that is all he will get. Dragon. Let's see here. Revolta. Yeah, maybe he's trying to throw in a cheeky swirl seed. He's looking to try to swipe this away with Bull. Bull doesn't have Dominus, so I don't think they're going to try to do that. But all the Dragon got out of that was just a show. I hope he had his popcorn. He was just he was a spectator in that thing.
Yeah, the one who probably was happiest with how everything went from there was probably Inferno, that it remained alive. But that tension that was building for the last 19 minutes suddenly just all released there. 5 kills left and right. And now Flamengo has vision of this. They know that it's being done, and they're going to come back for round 2 here. A bunch of ultimates are available, and they might just look for this.
Yep, and again, Bull, the Dominus is not going to be up for a little while here. Envy does have Shockwave back up. Able to secure it. That's a 3-0 Dragon lead. Solar Flare comes down, but it's purely defensive, and it's not enough. Mikau's going to pick one up. Ranger joining the fight and picking up a kill as well. Absolute stays alive, not able to quite get back up to S for another deadly Inferno trigger. But INTZ come out on top in the Drakes, but little by little, everyone's got a kill here.
Wait,
the Flamengo are playing Opa with the kills right now.
Okay, so you can see the way the fight started out was actually pretty beneficial here for INTZ because Flamengo is so split. But the call from INTZ was kind of split too. They decide to finish the Dragon at the expense of their members. That's fine. They just need to get out. But Parang, the explosive cask, was on point so that they at least pick up a kill at the back end of it. If not, that was just INTZ's win through and through to be able to pick up that Inferno drag there. And potentially now they threaten Soul. The next time that Dragon comes up, if Baron is on the table, Flamengo will be forced to make a tough decision. And that excites me because it's the first time we're seeing Flamengo really on the back foot in the mid game.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, in week 1 against Vorax, they were in control of that kind of through and through. And against excuse me, well, against Kaboom, that was that was a bit of a stomp there. But yeah, no, I mean, this is really exciting, and I'm glad we saw this from INTZ because even one of the tweets that came across the screen on the bottom side, people chiming in on social media, it was a Flamengo fan saying, great play, just like basically to INTZ, like just because you have great players doesn't mean you can take down a great team.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a little bit of the storyline that we've been building up is, look, INTZ have not looked like a team, but the individual talent really undermines their 0-2 record. And the cohesion has been there a lot more. You've harped on it. And they've been focusing on just, again, objectives. They've secured all 3 dragons here, and they forced the contest of the soul. 2 kills onto Mikau. They are far from out of this. The gold lead is basically negligible at this point.
And to add on to that, I do want to point out that so far what we're seeing from INTZ is still a lot of really good individual play and mechanics. Notice in the fights right now that INTZ is not exactly coming out ahead of these fights. Toots, Ranger, the way they're pushing and pulling still shows better coordination, but the individual skill there. Envy just bullying out Ranger as well. You know, Bull hand going toe-to-toe against Parang and doing actually pretty well so far. And Revolta as well, just constantly making sure that they're at the objectives at the right time. It's a lot of individual skill. And if INTZ can just take that one extra step, start winning these team fights, the game goes heavily in their favor. Whereas for Flamengo, what I feel like right now, I don't even feel like they're playing badly. Yes, they have given up some objectives, but that's expected with their composition to give up the early game. The loss of the 3rd Dragon hurts, but that I think was just more on good play from Revolta's Parang and Bull. Just standing there. I want to say respectfully, kind of the tip of the hat to gentlemen, just, gentlemen's agreement.
Yeah, now Ranger looking to crash the party a little bit here. I don't think Bull sees him. Ranger not going to jump the gun just yet. He's an alcove gamer, random minion caster. He's trying to play this very stealthily. I mean, diving a Renekton is tough, but Parang does have the ultimate. But again, both teams just they realize how on a knife's edge this is. No need to do anything dumb down here. Parang is too good a player for that. Maybe you worry about wasting Ranger's time a little bit, but
Oh,
I don't know. I think
surely
they'll.
now.
Oh, yeah, there they go. Gonna pop everything here. Bull going in with the dominus, dashes
Oh,
in. Lamb's respite,
oh,
not even get to cast it. Bull just wiped him off the face of the earth. He had the Lamb's respite up, but wasn't able to get it. Two TPs coming down as both the mid laners join the party here. Shockwave gonna bring him back into range. Bull is gonna get the W off backs of it and it's gonna dice back out. Oh, Toots maybe overcommitted. Kaboo was ready to punish, but couldn't get quite in range.
mid
Oh my
lane,
god.
just a bit of poke back and forth. But what are we seeing here down in the bot lane 4x4? I am kind of shocked and confused. Just a week ago, it took 4 people to kill Parang, and they lost 2. Now Bull is going in 1v2 and finding the kills left and right. Have they found Envy?
Oh, absolute. He's got to be careful. Bull's going to try to get in on him and get the W off. He was waiting for the
Oh,
Inferno trigger. Dashes right back out. Absolute with a really
Alarm!
good mechanic. Bullet time and the make it right. He's going to pick up a kill on the Bull, but not before he gets shut down by Envy. Toots picking
Toots?
up a kill onto Mikau and another one for Envy. These teams are slugging back and forth. This is what I wanted to see.
Yeah, this is what you'd expect from El Clasico right here. A lot of aggressiveness, and Toots there. Interesting choice. He actually opted to come out. So the start of the fight here was good. They caught Envy, but they couldn't burst Envy down. And this is what is ridiculous. Look at Bull's health bar. It's down to nothing. Surprise, I tricked you. It's 40%. And absolute sure you get the kill, which is actually pretty big because you get the shutdown. But at the same time, you give your life up. And this is what I have the biggest question mark about. Toots. He could have gotten out after the Zonias. He didn't. He went further in, trying to, I don't know, pick up another kill. A little bit greedy. And that's just a free kill given over to the side of INTZ when really you just want to play safe and continue letting yourself scale.
Dragon was taken, and the aftermath of that critical fourth Drake. So Flamengo put another 5 minutes on the clock for Soul Point here. And Toots, we want to, take some time here to acknowledge and a little bit of moment of silence for Toots' deathless streak. It's a shame that it ended the way it did because, like you said, it looked a little bit greedy. It didn't have to happen like that. But Toots, with his first death of the season, very impressive in its own right. Want to point attention to Revolta here on the Lilia, go on the Moonstone Renewer.
Mhm.
Because as far as magic damage is concerned, woo, Envy flashing away from almost certain doom. Parang with those casks has been pretty money so far. But he's going full tank Gragas. Again, it's both of these magic damage capable champions in Parang's Gragas and Revolta's Lilia, instead just opting to fill their alternate roles here.
And 4x4, you're saying something about the Moonstone Renewer there for Revolta.
Mm. Yes. What what are you gonna do? Is that not a Moonstone Renewer?
It is. No, I thought you had a point about the Moonstone Renewer, so I was waiting for it.
No, my apologies. I think I guess I explained that point more than I did. It's just that no, with for kind of the same reason that you can, or at least how it was explained to me, which makes sense. I don't know. I'm very trusting of authority. It's a problem. Anyway, with the Moonstone Renewer, the longer you can stay in combat and provide that sustain, right? It's the same reason that you can do Redbirds with the Solar Flare. It's going to find absolutely nobody, though. Kaboo not super confident with the re-engage. Instead, they will just take the fact that they blew a very valuable ultimate that admittedly is on a pretty short cooldown. Redbird's going to have that back in 2 seconds flat. Basically, all I'm saying is support Lilia because Envy is doing more than enough magic damage.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Lilia's the world around right now have been favoring that Moonstone Renewer as the preferred sort of mythic item here. And a lot of times it's not necessarily that Moon Staff or Groomstone, whatever you want to call it, with that Staff of Glowing Water. It's just the flat out Moonstone Renewer only. And then they build the other items because Lilia does need a bit more tankiness there. So, yeah, it helps out a lot. And it's showing its value in these fights as well. Because as much as I focus on Bull's health bar basically being a trap there and the Gore Drinker being his trap card, the Moonstone Renewer helps a lot in these fights to keep Envy alive as well as Mikau and Bowl as well. It's not as flashy, but it does actually add up to quite a bit by the end of the game.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to see if honestly we get the analysis with the numbers breakdown as we see Toots here has hit level 16. This is it. The clock has struck midnight. We'll see if INTZ do turn into pumpkins here, because if Toots has his way with his Cassidon, yeah, he's gonna make legumes out of his opponents right now. It is that critical power spike. He's opting again for more sustained damage into this team with Bull, as he's got the Sterix gauge now. Lilia, like you said, building a little bit tankier here, but with that Landry's Torment, he wants these long, more drawn out fights. Absolute with the Immortal Shield Bow, opting again for a little bit more sustain in these fights as well.
And for Toots as well, I mean, they've sacrificed a lot to get to this stage, right? Like they've had almost no agency in the early game. His tiers are fully stacked. He's got to start making use of that Seraph's Embrace here to get the damage off. And he's actually with the team, which is something that he's not been doing for the last couple of fights. Cassin wants a flank, and are we going to get a 4v4? Here we go.
Deep lands, Redberg gets a lock of the Iron Solari off, and the Shockwave gets it right into the Lamb's Respite. Toots with the shot, or with the Zonies, excuse me, and goes over the wall, and he's going to start his rampage right on cue. RNC, you profit. That's 2 kills for him. Bull's going to stay alive, and he is absolutely that trap. Sterix so much sustained, and the Moonstone Renewer is not even around him. How long is he going to stay alive before Parang finally bops that Gator on the snout and says, no, bad Chumpy. Finally knocks him into the ground, but that's what you wanted to see out of Toots right there.
Hell yeah. The Cassidon is online. Cassawin, here we go. Level 16 with all the items here. And with that win, it's only Envy left alive. So they can turn and burn for burn. Envy can't do a thing if they even know this is being done, because the pink ward, the control ward there, does cut all the vision. So it's going to be really nice. Are they going to stall this out for Redbird? No, they're not even going to wait. Poor Redbird doesn't get the burn off by 3 seconds there.
Yeah, a bit of a bummer. But I mean, it's not like Redbird's going to be in a solo lane. That's, again, something that feels even dumb to point out here. But so often when, I don't know, as a support, I feel like in the mid game, sometimes I'm just like, what should I do? And I just find myself kind of autopiloting into a lane. I'm like, if I find myself in a solo lane as a support, you know something's gone wrong. That's where you do like the little record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got here. Let's rewind. Redbird is in this fight, though. Able with the, doesn't land the solar flare, but goes flash. Zenith Blade in, forces a flash out of INTZ. Mikau has to cleanse and flash out of that. A couple big summoners, especially with Toots on the prowl. My man is like a shark. He wants these flags. Bull and Kabu are trying to get to him. You see, he's like a black hole. The gravity that he draws, and his team is able to capitalize and take that second Infernal Drake, and again, stall the soul.
And I don't want to give too much credit to Tits there, but a shark in water, I think, doesn't quite describe it. He just 1v5 zoned them, and oh my goodness, as soon as they split up, rip, it's venison for dinner tonight.
Yep, and Revolta also blew his ultimate in a last-ditch effort to try to save himself, and now the Baron buff is on. This is like, we talked about how Flamengo in previous games, you know, their cohesion, their early game onus in their compositions, they roam as one. They're making plays all over the place. Now that Toots is online, now that the spikes are in their favor with this Baron buff, I mean, the amount of value they've gotten out of this, my goodness.
Yeah, immediately they start taking down all the inner turrets. They're pinging the top one, and the top one isn't that healthy either. So that's going to be 3 straight turrets that they pick up with no answer from INTZ. And as good as INTZ's early game and mid game looked here, their lack of cohesion is starting to once again show. You can see that Flamengo isn't afraid to pull the trigger, whereas INTZ is. They need to decide what they want to do. If they want to go for Toots, they need to go for Toots. If not, force them out, turn on the rest of the team. Because if you just wait and sit back here, you're just letting Flamengo choose when they want to initiate.
And they've got more options now, right? I mean, the mark of a good Renekton player is choosing where and how to flank. And it seems like Bull kind of did that in the early game. Not that Flamengo were giving him a lot of options to, because like we've talked about, it seems like they have identified the late game as their win condition. They weren't playing too aggressively or too risky. But now it's Toots is on that foot, and he's the one that can ask these kinds of questions, right? He can position himself very creatively on this Cassidon, and all of a sudden, like you've kind of alluded to, INTZ find themselves on the back foot.
And they're going to stay there for a while because the Baron power play is almost over here. There's 5 seconds left, but the sheer look at that gold differential. That was 4.2 thousand gold gained during Baron power play. And Flamengo are up only about 5,000 gold. So they were only up 800 before Baron, and now they're up significantly more. And while before INTZ could look to pick pretty much any fight they wanted as long as they make sure that they track Toots, now not only do they have to track Toots, but in a straight 4v4, if they were to send, say, Bo or Revolta or someone to deal with Toots, they might not win that 4v4 anymore. Samira's starting to look a little scary here with the Infinity Edge pickup. It's not the Bloodthirster, it's not Sustain Samira. This Samira is the Burst Samira, where she goes in one Inferno triggers often enough to finish off at least one target, maybe more as well. So it's getting tougher and tougher. And INTZ though needs to not play defensively. Actually, ironically, they actually need to play aggressively because they're falling behind and because they struggle a little bit as the game goes longer and longer.
Yeah, you got to make something happen at this point, or the game is going to start happening to you. And again,
Exactly.
that is way easier said than done, especially against a castle win, especially against Toots's castle win. Parang playing very, very well. Redbird has been really good about his engage. He's been really patient with his CC, and chaining that and coordinating that with the rest of his team. But I mean, dragging in a $134. This is, I think, where the game is gonna be. I don't want to say won or lost, because even if INTZ do take this Infernal Soul, they are far from out of the woods. But if Flamengo are able to stall this game even longer, again, all that INTZ would be able to hope for is wait another 5 minutes and try to flip the game again.
Yeah, and the Baron's on the table too. When that dragon comes up, the Baron's going to be coming up roughly around the same time. So I feel like if they do commit to a fight, it could very well be the game. Because other than that, right now, Flamengo has already shoved in. It's only bases here. Teleport coming in from Toots all the way in the top side. He's really far from this fight.
Harang almost caught out there. Toots looking for the
Oh,
flank. Harang, a nice stopwatch to buy his team some
he's
time.
zooming
Absolutely.
them.
Up. Toots isn't even in the fight yet. Rift walks in, gets nudged out of the fight here.
Oh,
And really good damage on all the CC. That is huge. INTZ put Toots on a platter for Macau, and he drops the bullet time as well. They're so low RMC. Ranger has to get out of there. The Lamb's respite was dropped as well. Redbird, doesn't have solar flare. All he could do. Oh, that is unfortunate. Oh, Ranger, you inted your boy. You weren't patient enough.
Mikau's just running them down.
You just sent him straight to his doom. This should be the Infernal Soul here. Redbird going to play the Sacrificial Lamb and allow Absolute to get away. He had the Infernal trigger there, but smartly didn't opt to blow it. Ranger, best he could hope for is a Smite steal here, but I don't even think it's worth it. Kaboo trying to zone them out. Wolf doing his part to try to counter zone, if you will. Oh my gosh, what a massive pick there for INTZ.
Yeah, because if Flamengo had won that and gone for Dragon, that's not game over. But when INTZ does it, Inferno Soul, that's so massive for them. But look at the nerve of Flamengo here. Holy, they just go running in. They already swept it. They know there's no wards, and there was no hesitation. No team, no problem. We're going for Baron. And Ranger at this point is a level up from Revolta as well. So if Revolta wants to steal this blind, oh, that's gotta feel bad for INTZ. Win fight, get soul, lose Baron.
You got to give credit to Flamengo there. That was really gutsy to go for that, because they were still disadvantaged as far as numbers. But again, it was just that decisive play. They weren't trying to stupidly flip the Infernal Soul. They sacked that, and they said, you know where? They said there are 4 people in the Dragon Pit. You know where there are 0 people? The Baron Pit. Let's try that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely worked. There was nobody there, and they snuck it, and it just surprises me and shocks me a little bit that they actually got away with that. It was such a big brain play, and I think I'd have fallen for the same trap, honestly, if I was INTZ here.
Yeah, no, because if I'm on the back foot, I mean, I can't blame them. Is you got away with, the game was going completely in the opposite direction. You retake the momentum, you take the Infernal Soul, you just say like, oh gosh, thank goodness. Okay, let's go back to base. Let's get out of the rift, right? And Flamengo took advantage of that.
And now they're going to try and take advantage of this Baron as well, because they're not shoving up within the mid lane. Look at what they're doing instead. They sent Toots to split push because he's got Lich Bane now with Baron buff. If ever they stop tracking Toots and get a little too distracted, Toots can easily just rip his way into their base. I don't want to call it a backdoor because he'll have minions with him. He can't do it without the minions, but he can do a lot of damage here.
Knowing when to ask for help, knowing when you need help, it's very psychologically healthy by Toots. He knows that he needs his little minion friends. as Revolta going to pick up the demonic embrace. That Lichbane is so big for Toots. And the fact that he waited as long as he did to get it, and he's still, I mean, my gosh, you thought he was scary before. He's going to be all over the place, but we've seen that. Look, it's not like INTZ don't have the tools to deal with him, and it's not like anyone else is. I mean, actually, no. Absolute is also a CC gravity bomb, right? I mean, you know that you need to save that for him as well. But you saw in that side lane, the fight was a little more disjointed than Flamengo wanted it. But the way I see it, if Flamengo get the fight they want, INTZ you're gonna have to pick. You know, it's pick your poison. Whether you want Absolute to wipe you off the face of the earth with one Inferno trigger, or you want Toots to pick you off one by one.
And normally, like when you talk about it like that, you almost feel like for the side of Flamengo, they want a team fight with that Inferno trigger or where Tuts can get a flank. But they are actually, you have to remember that they're still effectively a split push team with this Cassidy here, and that's what they're doing. But instead of just the 1-4, they're going full 1-3-1 here. They didn't actually manage to get too much off of that. We are still seeing a bit of a gold advantage, but a lot of that is coming just off the Baron itself because they didn't manage to push in. So successful base defense from both teams because Flamengo got shoved in early and INTZ got shoved in late. Not a huge change, and we're kind of back to everything again. This time with higher stakes because it's not Soul we're playing for the next Dragon. It's Elder Drake, and while Infernal Soul feels good and you get a little bit of a pop, Elder Drake gives you the full orbital laser here. So that's gonna definitely. I don't think we're gonna see just an easy trade here this time. It's been desynced a little bit more, and I think we might be in for a bit of a low state potentially.
Yep. Just when we thought that this game had relinquished its nice edge status, both these teams just playing for these objectives. And I think Flamengo, yeah, you got to give credit to INTZ because that base defense was good. And I was gonna, praise Flamengo for taking the Baron buff and spreading it all over the map. That's what you've got to do. Especially with Toots, he can 1v1 literally anybody. You got to send it all over the place, but there's a really good defense. No inhibs, no towers go down as far as the base towers are concerned. And INTZ, they were able to take both tier 1 and tier 2 towers in the mid lane. But it's about this Elder Dragon and the fight that's going to explode around it that I think is going to decide this game. I don't know, maybe even not, because the bases aren't actually that broken or anything. I don't know if you could make a full-fledged push just off winning an elder fight.
It with the Elder fight, yeah, probably could. And the other thing I'm expecting for the Elder fight is that I don't think either team's just gonna flat out concede it here. I do expect to see a fight, and the winner uh, will be coming out with enough force to be able to break the base. I feel like there's enough damage threat from Parang, from Ranger, from Toots, from basically anybody but Redbird from the side of Flamengo, and from INTZ, similar situation. Anybody but Kabu could probably take a turret. So that I feel like is going to be a big deal as well, just to see who wins that fight and then eventually looks to win the game. I feel like the first step they need to do is set up vision, and that's where INTZ's in a massive disadvantage. We're getting a beautiful jungle tour where we can see the vision. They've got two wards kind of defensively placed, not really in the river, just in their own jungle, so they can see themselves going out, but they can't actually see the dragon pit. So it'll be a bit risky for INTZ, and I expect Flamengo to continue the stranglehold for the next 30 seconds before the Elder Dragon spawns.
It's a delicate dance because it's not like INTZ know where Flamengo are, but they don't know exactly where Flamengo are, right? And Envy can throw out the ball, poke around a little bit. Ooh, Toots might be in some trouble here. A little bit. Oh my gosh, there's a little bit greedy with 5 seconds to go before the Elder Drake spawns. I know he is really strong. It takes that many to try to get to him, but now he's got a back. We'll see if he gets there in time for the Dragon. He does have his TP, and he's going to go
Coming in from
into
behind.
the back of the jungle. His team has started up the Dragon, and I think they've got enough here. They've got them on the back foot. Bingo are the ones asking the questions. Toots wipes out Revolta, and Absolute takes down the Drake. Oh boy, run for the hills. That's all you can do. Absolutely. As Toots to pick up the kill onto Kaboo. Redbird able to get the solar flare there to help him secure it, make it rain. Gonna dissuade the rest of the chase. They've got to wait for the minions here. They're stuck in the mid lane. Let's see if they can be patient enough here, or maybe just shift their focus to the bottom tower. Oh my gosh.
They're in the base.
RMC, the minions are not helping them out here. You gotta give credit to INTZ. That's that's props to them. That's good wave management before this dragon was started up. But finally, they get a push here, and they're going to try to break open the base and break open the game via the bottom lane. Here we go. Bullet Time is going to do absolutely nothing. Lamb's Respite is popped. Bull stopwatch off, and Toot's gonna have to pop it as well. And Bull out of the stopwatch, able to pick up a kill there onto Ranger.
How is Bull so
Absolute picks
alive?
up the kill. Trigger in, picks up 2. You deal with 1, you've got another ace up your sleeve to throw at INTZ.
Okay, I think INTZ a little bit overzealous there, but they're probably not going to be able to end the game. Are they going to actually risk this? I mean, 40 seconds on Bull and Envy, they are the biggest threats, but Redbird's almost dead.
Pareng and Toots are low. Redbird from the brink of death just throws out a solar flare. They're not going to be able to end this game. 40-something minutes in. And with the Elder Dragon in tow, still nothing. What a first game between these two powerhouse squads in CBLOL to open up round 3.
And this is the INTZ that I think everybody wanted to watch here. This is that 20% confidence vote for INTZ coming through, because they honestly look way better than week 1. I think if they had played this way in week 1, we might have seen them 2-0 rather than 0-2 at this point here. Are they perfect? No, but they're looking really good against a team like Flamengo here. So nice for them. Elder Drake, might wear off before the next big fight, but there will be Baron here for Flamengo, so they can continue to push. And your base now is broken open. You've only got 1 inhibitor still standing. It's in the top lane with its accompanying turret, which should probably go down pretty quickly if they focus it down. Or they can just look to push in with the Nexus now. With supers baroned up, they should have no problem finishing this game out here.
And Pareng here, opting for the Seraphs. Did he have that tier the whole time?
Yes. Yeah, he got it really early and just never upgraded it.
All right, no, fair enough. Pareng cashing in on his own early game investment here. He's got the Mikhails as well. I believe that's what I see second from the left there. Because, I mean, yeah, there are. I actually really, really like that item choice to bail out either Toots or Absolute. Because neither one of them took cleanse. Just Mikau has the cleanse on his side.
Yeah, and that's not even taking into account the fact that Ranger, even though he's 1, 3, and 9, has the Kraken Slayer, has Infinity Edge, can actually shred through teams in his own right. He's a full-fledged ADC at this point here. We just haven't really noticed it. And this is the last final countdown.
Goes out of a beautiful cast. Mikau cleanses out of it and is going to live. Tower goes down. This is death by 1,000 cuts for INTZ. Will they be able to stop the bleeding? 3 inhibs down is going to make it really, really tough to do so. Here come the Baroned Up minions. I think this is where the swan song is sung. RMC, INTZ, one last valiant effort. Do they have it? Redbird doesn't have Solar Flare. He blew it earlier. That's a big goal. Not going to be available. Toots has to Rift Walk out of there. Revolta saved himself with the stopwatch. Flashes away. The minions are doing a lot of work here.
Down.
One Nexus turret down. The second one down as well. Get in there. Channel your inner X-Peke, Toots. There is the Solar Flare that they needed. The CC followed up there by Absolute. And the Infernal Trigger is going to help wipe down Bull. But Pareng goes down. And now they're just shifting their focus to the Nexus. Finally able to pick up a win. A breathless game 1 here on this Saturday morning.